This retail giant burned $2 billion in 2 years. And the wildest part? It all started with a barcode. In the early 2010s, Target was the undisputed king of American cheap chic. Their red bullseye was a badge of honor for middle-class suburban shoppers who wanted designer-designed home goods at supermarket prices. They were absolutely crushing Walmart in the cultural wars. But Wall Street is a beast that demands constant, insatiable growth. And in 2011, Target's executive board decided to make their first international move. They looked north to Canada. Canada seemed like the perfect target. Millions of Canadians already crossed the border every year just to shop at American Target stores. The brand awareness was already there. The demand was screaming. So, instead of testing the waters with a few experimental stores in Toronto or Vancouver, Target decided to go all in. They bought the real estate leases of a dying Canadian discount chain called Zellers for a staggering $1.8 billion. Overnight, they had acquired 189 real estate locations. The plan was aggressive, some said suicidal. They would renovate and open more than 130 stores across Canada in less than 2 years. It was a massive logistical military campaign. To run this empire, Target refused to hire experienced Canadian retail executives. Instead, they sent a team of young, ambitious American executives from their headquarters in Minneapolis. These executives arrived in Toronto with a sense of imperial superiority. They believed Canadian retail was slow, outdated, and desperately needed to be rescued by American corporate genius. But to pull off this massive launch on such a tight schedule, they needed a brand new, state-of-the-art software system to run their supply chain. In the US, Target used a highly customized, legacy system built over decades. But for Canada, they decided to start from scratch. They bought a sophisticated software package from German tech giant SAP. This is where the foundation of the $2 billion empire began to rot. To make the SAP system work, thousands of product details had to be entered into the database manually. We are talking about dimensions, weight, manufacturer codes, and import details for over 75,000 unique items. This monumental task was given to young, entry-level database operators who were fresh out of college. They were working under brutal, unrealistic deadlines. They had no idea that a single typo would cause a systemic cascade of chaos. But wait. It gets much worse. The system went live with corrupted data. An estimated 70% of all product entries in the database contained errors. A box of laundry detergent that was actually 12 inches wide was entered into the system as 12 centimeters. A product weight that should have been in pounds was entered in kilograms. The SAP software relies on perfect data to calculate how many boxes can fit onto a shipping pallet, how many pallets can fit into a shipping truck, and how many items can fit on a store shelf. Because the data was complete garbage, the entire automated brain of Target Canada began to hallucinate. By early 2013, the first wave of grand openings arrived. Millions of excited Canadian shoppers lined up outside pristine, newly renovated Target stores. The doors swung open. The red shopping carts glided across the polished floors. But when the shoppers walked down the aisles, they gasped. The shelves were completely empty. In some stores, entire aisles had nothing but single bottles of shampoo spaced out to hide the massive gaps. In others, toys and electronics sections looked like they had been looted. The customer experience was a disaster. Canadians who had traveled miles to experience the legendary Target magic were met with a barren wasteland. But behind the scenes, the mystery deepened. Target's corporate headquarters was looking at inventory reports showing that their distribution centers were absolutely bursting at the seams. The warehouses were so full of products that trucks could not even unload. Shipping containers were backing up at the ports, racking up millions of dollars in late fees. How could the warehouses be completely overflowing while the actual store shelves were completely empty? The broken database was playing a cruel joke. Because the software thought the product dimensions were wrong, it believed the store shelves were already full. The system blocked shipments from leaving the warehouses. Meanwhile, warehouse workers were drowning in inventory they couldn't ship out. To cope with the overflow, Target had to rent hundreds of shipping trailers and park them in parking lots just to hold the excess stock. It was a logistical heart attack. And then came the second blow, the pricing shock. Canadians who shopped at U.S. Target stores loved the cheap prices. But when they walked into Canadian Target stores, they realized the prices were significantly higher than in the U.S. Target had failed to realize that taxes, import duties, and Canadian labor laws made it impossible to match U.S. prices. Canadian shoppers felt betrayed. They realized they could get the exact same items cheaper at Walmart or local Canadian chains. Inside Target's Canadian headquarters, a toxic culture of corporate fear took hold. The executives in Minneapolis didn't want to hear bad news. They had tied their careers to this Canadian expansion. When middle managers tried to point out that the data was corrupted and the launch should be delayed, they were told to be team players. Problems were swept under the rug. Status reports were manually altered to show green lights instead of flashing red warnings. By 2014, the financial bleeding was catastrophic. Target Canada was losing millions of dollars every single day. The company tried to fix the data manually, sending teams of workers into warehouses with tape measures to physically measure thousands of boxes and re-enter the data into the system. But it was too little, too late. The damage to the brand was done. Canadian consumers had written Target off. The stores were seen as overpriced, understocked ghost towns. In early 2015, the board of directors finally faced reality. The expansion was unsalvageable. The end came with brutal, sudden speed. In January 2015, the CEO walked into a press conference. He announced that Target Canada was filing for bankruptcy protection. They were shutting down all 133 stores. 17,600 employees were laid off. Every single location was liquidated. The grand international dream was dead. Target packed its bags and fled back across the border, leaving behind empty malls and a historic $2.1 billion hole in their balance sheet. If this massive retail disaster shocked you, you must watch our video on how the legendary toy giant Lego almost went completely bankrupt in 2003.